Hello, this video is about how to land a job in social media, especially for those that have no experience in social media industry, or digital marketing at all. So we're going to go over tips and tricks within the social media industry and skills you can learn today, how to build up that resume, how to master that interview. So diving right into it, tips and tricks for social media job. Number 1, be smart with your time. Don't do everything one by one. Make sure you schedule in advance what you can. It'll save you so much time, so much stress. And I would also recommend not reusing a lot of content. People are smart. They're aware that you reuse the same exact post for St. Patrick's Day last year versus this year, or even seasonal posts about spring, fall, winter, summer. People remember those things, and even if they don't remember, they can look it up, and they're going to call you out saying you're fake because you're just reusing content over and over, and you're not a real, authentic, transparent brand. So make sure you're honest and don't reuse things. You can reuse some assets, but make sure you're changing content. Other tips for social media jobs: make sure you're testing. Even if you don't have experience going into a social media job, make sure when you get there, you're Googling how to test on specific platforms. There's a lot of different content online for Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, etc. How to A/B test and what to do there. Just to go a little bit deeper on that topic, some examples of testing is doing different days and times. Does your audience engage more on weekdays versus weekends? Do they engage more on lunch breaks versus in the afternoon? Or maybe they're night owls and they actually engage after 11 o'clock at night. What content works better? Do videos work better than images, or vice versa? Do people like polls and surveys? There's a lot of different ways to test. So make sure you Google it and learn a bit more about that area. Other tips for social media jobs: make sure you're using multiple social media channels. If you yourself only have a little bit of experience in a few areas, one, that's great. I'm assuming you're just getting started and interested in this industry, so look into the other social media platforms that you typically don't post on. If you don't have a Twitter account, sign up for one. It's free and pretty easy to do. So just try it out and get some experience there. Put out a few posts. It'll help you a lot more, so you're more knowledgeable about the different platforms, why they're useful, who typically goes to that platform if you have experience yourself. I'd also recommend not to get lost in the data. A lot of people would actually argue with me and say that this is not recommended. But I've seen it time and time again where people are doing so much reporting, so much analytics, that they get bogged down with that instead of creating social content, engaging with their existing customers on their social media platforms. And they're just focused so much on the reporting that they get lost in everything else. And reporting actually doesn't help with engaging your user base, as an example, or trying to make more people aware of your brand, or trying to get them to buy a specific product. Data is important. I'm not saying it's not. It is important, but what I would recommend is maybe on a monthly basis, look at what was my worst performing post of the month and why? What was my best performing post of the month and why? And what can I learn from that? And how can I make that better for the next month? Everything from a data perspective needs to be actionable. Otherwise, you're just getting lost in the data. So I could probably go on a big tangent, but I'll cut it off on there. If you have questions, definitely reach out to me. I am happy to explain more in that area. Moving on to skills, what do you need to get a social media job? Again, I am assuming that you have no skills today, which is great that you're here wanting to learn more about it. So I already mentioned, if you don't have experience on other platforms, dive into that, learn more about them, set up those accounts, and just get familiar with it. I would also recommend practicing with paid advertising. Even if you only have personal accounts, that's fine. Maybe you could do a paid advertising post for a neighborhood block party on the 4th of July that you want to host. Well, you can set up who specifically gets that in a group list. You can set it up based on zip code. It changes a bit on what platform you're on, but it's really not expensive to do. It's only going to be a couple of dollars if you're in the US. So just work through it. And that's a great thing to put on your resume. And it's probably the number one thing you're going to be asked to do when you actually get into a job, is to set up some paid social media posts. So look into how to do that and try it out and put it on your resume. What I would also recommend is volunteering for a local business, local charity, or church, a few hours, maybe 5 to 10, over a 1 month, maybe 2 month time span. The reason why I recommend this is it's really going to give you immediate experience that you can add to your resume, that you can talk about in your interview, and it's going to set you apart from everyone else that doesn't have experience today. It's also something that you can action upon now. Just Google your favorite local business and reach out to them and ask. A lot of businesses, charities, and churches don't have the resources today. They don't have the skills today, or they don't have the money today to do these things themselves. So if you find some business that doesn't have a social media platform, or they do, but they're posting once a month, make sure you reach out to them, because once a month posting is not that good. You definitely want to engage your audience more than that. I would recommend, though, when you ask to volunteer, be very transparent and honest that you're going to spend a specific amount of time over the next month to 2 months and have an end date so it's very clear. I've had experience in my past when volunteering that I got completely swamped and overwhelmed because everyone was so excited to have someone help with their social media. Then everyone started sending things, post this, do this, do that. It just became very overwhelming and stressful for a volunteer position. Just be upfront and honest with your time, how much you can do, and what that end date is. And trust me, it'll save you a lot of heartache in the end. So once you get some business that you can actually help with, or a nonprofit or church, focus on just a few hours each week that you are moving these items forward, building social media posts, posting things for them, and work through that. When you start this whole process, make sure you write down start metrics and end metrics based on whatever their platforms are that they're using. So as an example, maybe you started Facebook for a local small business, which originally had no social media presence. Now they have 50 followers based on your efforts over a 1 month time span. And maybe of those 50 followers, 10% are highly engaged. That's great. Add that to your resume. Or another example, maybe you volunteered your time to improve a social media campaign or social media presence for your local church, and you focused on posting every day a social media post. Then the top 3 posts that you had done within a 1 month time span had over 500 views, and each of the top posts had around a 5% click-through rate to their website, which was their goal. So, and then, something else you could say is that when you started, their highest view post was 150 views. Well, saying that their highest viewed post was 150 views, and now you have 500 views for your highest viewed post is a huge increase in views. And again, something great to add to your resume. So just write down key start metrics and end metrics and look to see what improved, and definitely put that down on your resume as experience. If you can, I would also split your time between 2 companies, preferably those of different industries or different target audiences, because it's going to really help you with getting a job in those industries or different lessons learned. Once you start doing this, you're going to really see how different target audiences react uniquely. Some might be better for photo content. Like if you work for a restaurant, they want to see the food, whereas some might prefer live videos if it's more in the service industry, or maybe like a local animal shelter, or some might prefer surveys or polls. So make sure you split your time, and then again, any lessons learned, write them down in your resume. So you could say, hey, when I was helping this restaurant company, I saw that photo posts had a 20% higher engagement than posts without photos. And companies will really see that you're looking to learn, and they can see that you applied those learnings with your social media experience that you've done, in this example, with your spare time over about a month. And then, it won't take too long before you get enough experience to move to that interview and that job. So some optional ways that you could also stand out when you look online for social media jobs, a lot of them say, do you have experience in SEO, search engine optimization, or do you have experience in Google Analytics? And a lot of times when you do look for those social media jobs, those are usually listed as optional or preferred. So if you Google those, take another class on those, that'll really set you apart and make your resume stand out even more than your competition when applying for a job. So again, optional, but I would recommend looking into that and doing that. That's it for all now. Thanks, guys, and see you next time.